In before classes, we have discussed about a sequence. Unlike parallel jobs, there is another type of job called sequence job. Okay, sharing my screen. This is a parallel job, like how we are developing like before jobs, whereas sequence job is something like this. I'm just giving some background because some of you people are not attended those classes of sequence when I'm explaining the sequence. So sequence is another type of job. There are three types of jobs available in data stage. One is parallel job, second one is sequence job, and third one is server jobs. Server jobs are the older type of jobs. Those are still available, but not using by any of the data stage versions. So yellow color one, which you are seeing, is called as server jobs. If data stage project is implemented in 7-point versions or 8-point versions, that time they have used the server jobs. Initially, data stage released using server jobs. Later, they started using the parallel jobs and sequences. Okay. This is not needed because no one and nowhere we are using server jobs now. But for the purpose of understanding, I am explaining this one. Parallel jobs, so far we have seen and we have done so many jobs using parallel jobs. Sequence job is the one which we are trying to understand. So the purpose of sequence job is, say suppose I do have 10 parallel jobs and I would like to execute these 10 parallel jobs one by one because there is some dependency. My first parallel job is going to generate two output files, out of which one of the output file is going to used by my second parallel job. Then my first parallel job need to be executed first and followed by the second parallel job. So that dependency, that sequence of execution can be defined using sequence job. Okay. So the purpose of sequence job is to define uh, a dependency on the execution of parallel jobs. Apart from giving the dependency or the sequential flow, we can also execute unique commands through sequence jobs, and we can run a job in loop. Loop in the sense, I'm sorry, we can execute a job. Say suppose there is this parallel job which is extracting data from a Oracle database to a file. Okay. So the same extraction need to be done for 5 countries like India, US, China, Japan, and Pakistan, or so and so. There are 5 countries for which their business is expanded. They would like to do the extraction for all these 5 countries. So, which is nothing but similar activity, right? When there is a need of executing similar activity, then we are not going to define 5 parallel jobs. Instead, we just develop one parallel job. And what we do is we execute this parallel job in loop one by one. So to define that loop activity, there is this end loop activity and start loop activity. So if I, this is end loop, right? So we can, I need to give the, okay. So this here I'm going to give a counter saying like 1 to 5. So here I can do a numeric loop or I can do a list loop. What is the difference between numeric and list loop is, in numeric loop, we can give from 1, step 1 to 5. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Say suppose this is step 2 and this is 10. Then 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Those are the things that are going to execute it. So this is how we can define a loop using numbers, or we can do a list loop. So list loop is nothing but, say suppose AP, Telangana, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. So likewise, these are 4 states. Okay. For these 4 states, I would like to execute a parallel job. So we can also give a loop using comma delimited values or space delimited values. Here we can define the delimiter. And here we are going to give the values. Either we can implement the loop using a list, or we can implement the loop using numbers as well. Okay. So apart from defining a sequence, apart from defining a sequence, apart from executing command activities, we can also execute parallel jobs or sequences in a loop also. And sequencer is, this is sequencer. And notification activity. Notification activity is nothing but sending an email alert. Say suppose the dependency of my job is fetching salaries. Say suppose on every month salary is going to be credited with on people's account, right? So I would like to schedule a job which is going to run on monthly basis. Okay, when the salary is credited, then the job is going to finish. Once the job is finished, I would like to receive an email saying that for India country, all the payment is done to the employees to a job, because the job is implementing those activities. First activity is fetching the active employees, that is going to be in one parallel job. The second parallel job is fetching the bank details of active members. The third thing is uh, sending that those list to another application where these transactions are happening. Okay, so all these three need to be executed one after the other, which are going to be defined in a sequence. Say suppose in between the job got failed or aborted, then immediately we would need a notification, right? Otherwise, that is not going to be looked up by the support people, and the payments are going to be delayed, which is not expecting things. So notification activity is nothing but through this activity we can send emails on the status, not only on the status. Say suppose I would like to know, I would like to have some control report. The report should have how many active members are there, how many are on maternity leave, or how many are on break, and how many are still employees of this particular company but not getting the salary. So all those kind of details should come as an email with an attachment. In those cases also we are going to use this notification activity. And nested condition. Nested condition is nothing but adding a condition. So here we can, let me give the link, then only we are going to get the options. So here, if counter is 1, so here we need to give the condition on which basis you would like to execute so and so. If uh, if this is Sunday, then execute the first. Sorry. So if it is Sunday, then only execute this particular job. Otherwise, execute some other job. Such kind of conditions can be added using nested condition activity. Okay. And terminator activity. If the suppose the we would like to stop our job on certain conditions. Like suppose there are like this job activity, there are some 4 to 5 jobs are there. In that case, so here there is the loop is starting. Here some condition is checking. Then this job is running. After that, this job is running. After that, loop is ending. But in between, if any of these two jobs are failed, then I would like to stop the sequence execution. Then what we need to do? We need to attach these two things to a sequencer. Okay. So if any of these two jobs are failed, here we can give the condition all or any. I would like to stop this parallel job if any of this is failed. What I do, then I will connect this sequencer to this terminator. Terminator is going to stop the execution of the job. For example, here in my parallel job, some execution is there. Once that parallel job is finished, then only this need to be executed. And this is not finished, then it should not go over here, right? Instead, I can ask the parallel, I mean, the processor to stop the job so that all the resources which are being allocated, resource allocation means once we start running any parallel or sequence job, immediately data state is going to allocate some space, some CPU on backend. Okay, so if we are not stopping the job, if it is failing it here, still the resources which are being allocated for this one, for this one, and for this one, for this one, all us are going to be in active state only. Even though we are not using either memory or CPU, still that space is being allocated for this particular job, which is unnecessary action, right? So that's the reason we are going to keep a terminator activity saying that stop this job in these conditions. Likewise, we are going to save the resources, or we are going to give a customized high performance sequence. But this is the purpose of terminator activity, which is nothing but stopping the job on conditions. Wait for file activity already discussed. Say suppose I would like to wait for some amount of time to get the file details from this job to this job. Like uh, so this is a parallel job, right? So this job is executed. After that, one file is generated. That file is using by some other team, and that team is again generating one more file, which is input to this job. Then what I do, I'll wait for some time before starting this particular job. So using wait file activity, uh, we can hold on for some amount of time here. Uh, are we like to wait for some file, and what is the amount of time? Is it 3 hours, 1 hour, 8 minutes? Like that, we can able to give the time. Here the format is there, HHMM and SS. So I don't want 8 hours. Instead, I would like to wait for some 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Then we can give the waiting time over here using wait file activity. Okay. Now I'll show you. So we have already seen how to use a command, execution command. Let me show you again. So this is the sequence job which we already created. I'll first show you how we can able to connect a parallel job. Oh, 1 second.